Okay, I turned it off by accident. Um, I messed up and put finish rather than enter. Can you hear me? Hi Dwight. Hi Daniel. Bill Thomas. Hi Fabiana. Hi. But can anyone hear me? Uh, Maybe you can type in. Now it is good. You can hear me? Oh, you can hear me. Oh, great. Okay, good. Well, we'll get rolling then. That's great. I keep hearing a pinging sound, a bell or something. I see Daniel, Dwight, Phil, Lisa Kelly, Bill Thomas. So I'll just start in. I have one or two questions that people have written in that I'll get started on, but I'll give you a report on stuff first. We had a fabulous hike today. We had about a dozen hikers, and we went for a good 3 hours, and I worked with 3 different people, and it was magic every time that we just saw people's lives being changed. It was incredible. I'm just so grateful to have colleagues to hike with. One was the wife of one of the people in our group said she's been feeling inferior and worthless and shy ever since she's been a little girl, and has been depressed the entire time, and just had a mind-blowing complete elimination of symptoms on the hike. It was so fantastic working with her and seeing her go to joy and self-confidence. And then we worked with a fellow who's been feeling extreme depression and anxiety over a physical problem and problems at work, and he was great to work with. He just had a dramatic changes. Just on the hike, people are open and honest about their feelings and vulnerable, and it just creates such a spirit of warmth and magic. So, and I'm so lucky that happens every Sunday pretty much. If I'm in town, we have the hikes, and so many people join. Also, I give you a report from Anaheim, California. Jeffrey Zeig, the head of the Ericksonian Foundation in Phoenix, kindly invited me to participate again in the Evolution of Psychotherapy conference in Anaheim. And wow, he puts together a tremendous event, and they had a lot of really big name people there, Tipper Gore and a lot of famous mental health professionals, and they were using 2 huge hotels and the convention center. And I had a chance to give 5 presentations, and the most exciting one was just an hour presentation I gave on, I think, Friday, I think it was Friday morning. It was on When Panic Attacks, on my book When Panic Attacks, and I was able to talk about quick treatments for panic disorder. But there were the conference room they had me in can hold 2,400 people, and it was pretty much packed, and it was so exciting. It's the largest audience that I've ever had, and the audience was just whooping and cheering and laughing, and they were just with me every step of the way, and it was a tremendous peak experience. And then afterwards, the bookstore had arranged an autograph signing at noon. My talk was over at a quarter of noon, and then I had to walk over to the convention center. And I had this thought, that there wouldn't be anyone there wanting to buy my book or get my autograph. And, the line was an hour and a half long. It was just I was sitting there for an hour and a half signing as fast as I could. Everyone wanted a photo. People were just so warm and kind, and it was so well organized. And so I've had my 5 my 15 minutes of fame now, so I'm ready for you to put me out to pasture. But I just wanted to thank Jeff Zeig and Kaylee Vaccaro and all the others who organized this fantastic event. And if you're a mental health professional, they're going to have it again in 3 years. It used to be every 5 years, but now they're having it every 3 years. And then next year, Jeff is going to have another brief therapy conference rather than an evolution conference in December, and I'll probably be a part of that as well. And these are highly recommended conferences because it's so warm and comfortable in Anaheim. Everyone is friendly, and the thing is just runs like a clock. And they have thousands of people attending these conferences. They call it the Woodstock of psychotherapy, and I can certainly believe that. Everyone is there with their best stuff, trying to put on their best show. Now let's see. Now here is a question to get us started. This is from Greg. He says, these questions are for the live cast on Facebook on Sunday afternoon. Well, thank you for that. Oh, and by the way, see, I was looking all grubby because I was all tired. I got in late last night, and then I just got a little sleep, and I had to get up for this 7-mile hike we did. And then Lisa said, well, don't look grubby. Put on a nice shirt or something. So I went and I gave myself, after the hike, I just had 3 minutes, with a wash rag, and kind of did a little standing quick bath and put on this shirt. Now, this shirt looks beautiful, but it's actually the shirt I was wearing yesterday. It's kind of grubby, but it should look nice. Hopefully it looks good enough, Lisa. So I kind of like looking grubby because I enjoy hiking, and we all look grubby and we relate as human beings, and that's kind of where the magic comes from. Anyway, here's the question. If a patient is resistant to try shame attacking, is there an effective way to coax them to try it? If the patient is still resistant, what other methods do you find effective to defeat social anxiety? Well, that's one of the things I did on the hike, and I'll disguise the identity of this person, because I did exactly that. This woman who said that she had felt kind of like a loser and shy and inadequate since she's been a little girl, and she'd had some traumatic experiences, and I just started empathizing with her, and she said she never talks to people because she feels like she's a loser, and that she has nothing interesting to say, and people wouldn't be interested in her. And I had worked with 2 other people on the hike, and we were about 2/3 of the way through the hike, and she said, well, I have something I want to work on. And I've just been empathizing with her for about 4 or 5 minutes. I was just barely starting out. And then we all had to make a right-hand turn to go up this path. And so I just intuitively stopped and said, here's something what I want you to do. I'm jumping the gun right now, but I want you to just tell some of the hikers, there were a dozen hikers, just walk up to some of them and tell them I've been shy all my life. I've been ashamed of my shyness. I've been hiding it, and I've just decided to stop hiding it and to tell people, and that's why I'm telling you. And she said, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. And I said, you can possibly do that, and you're going to do it right now, and do it with her. And so I just forced the issue. I said, if you want me to work with you, you have to do this, and you're going to do this right now. If you want to change your life today, if you want to change your life, let's do it right now. And she was a good egg, and she said to this other hiker, she said that I've been shy all my life, and I've been hiding it, and I'm just so ashamed of it, and I'm afraid people will think I'm a loser. And then after a bit of banter back and forth, the other woman said, I've struggled with the same question all my life too, and I feel so close to you. And she just couldn't believe it. And I said, ask her if she's telling you the truth or if she's just bullshitting you. And So she said, are you telling me the truth? Do you really feel closer to me? And that was, woman said, oh, absolutely. Then she went and told several other hikers and got the same feedback. And this was mind-blowing to her. And then we continued on the hike, and I continued empathizing and doing paradoxical agenda setting. And then I said, but now I'm going to move you up to a higher level. I want you to approach strangers and say this on the hike. She said, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. And I said, oh, yeah, you could do it, and you're going to do it right now. And then we saw these two elderly men walking up the road that we were walking down. I said, go tell them. They had dogs. And I probably shouldn't say they were elderly. I mean, they were probably about my age or something, but, you know, they were older looking guys. And so I forced her. I just said, go right up. And I said to the men, stop a minute. This young woman has something to say to you. And then she said, I had a tough time as a child, and I've felt shy and inferior all of my life. And I hide my shyness, and I just decided today to start opening up and telling people. And this poor old fellow was so compassionate. He spoke in broken English, and he said, I escaped from Nazi Germany when I was just a kid, and I've had some pretty hard times too. And it just blew her mind. And then I said, ask him how he feels about you. I said, so she said, what do you feel about me? Are you looking down on me? And he said, I feel so close to you. You're a beautiful young woman, and it's just wonderful to talk to you. And she couldn't believe it. And then the guy started opening up and telling her the story of his life. And here he was like a complete stranger. And she was just touched. The fellow just opened up like a flower. And then she told the other man, said, what do you think of me? And then he was an immigrant too, had some horrible things that he'd been through. And he opened up about them. And they had these dogs that were, you know, we were petting them. And it was just a beautiful experience. And to answer your question, you see, you have to have trust. You have to have empathy. But then when you want someone to confront their worst fear, that's the one time you have to push. And I issue the general ultimatum. I say, if you want to work with me, you have to do this. It's not negotiable. But I'll go with you. I'll go with you to the gates of hell. And then to finish it off, I said, and then she just started getting euphoric, and then we did feared fantasy and externalization of voices, and she just blew her negative thoughts out of the water. And then I said, the last thing I want you to do is called a shame attacking exercise, where you make a total fool of yourself in public to get over the fear of looking foolish. And she said, like, what would I have to do? I said, well, like the next person that we meet on the hike, just stop them and tell them, I wish to entertain you with song. And then ask them for requests. And she said, oh, I could never do that. I don't even have a good voice. I said, no, you can do it. And you're going to do it with the next hiker we come to. And then in about 15 seconds, this lovely young woman came, you know, hiking on the trail, approaching us. I said, should you just stop for just a second? This young woman in our group here needs to talk to you. She wants to audition for the television show Voice, you know, where you compete with other singers. And so she's going to do an audition, and she has something to say to you. And so I said, no, tell her. So she said, oh, I wish to entertain you with song. And do you have any requests? And the hiker said, I can't think of any. And so she said, just make up something, sing something to me. So she sang this song in a very average voice, and it was clearly weird. And then the hiker, not the one I was working with, the other one, said, this is so weird. This is funny. This is great. I said, do you have any idea what's going on? She says, I have no idea, but this is just wonderful. And then they just all laughed, and then we explained what had happened. And the woman I was working with thought it was so strange that she had made a total fool of herself, and still nothing bad happened, that this woman seemed to like it. And I said she was probably lonely, and you did something goofy, and you kind of made her day. So the answer to the question is, And you also have to be willing to do it yourself as a therapist, to do the shame attacking exercises. But there is the gentle ultimatum. You have to say this is what's going to happen, and you must do it. And this is mandatory. It's not an optional kind of thing. So, and Ashley joined us, says, I'm so excited I came across this. Thank you, Ashley. Oh, I'm supposed to like people. So I'll do it. And then Kevin Kelly, it's so good to hear you speak. Thank you, Kevin. We've got Renee Pearson and Milad Karampur, Tony DeCourt Offs, Amy Beth, and of course our wonderful Lisa Kelly, who got me doing these Sunday podcasts. I must say I'm totally exhausted. I've just finished my fall season. I had 15 major presentations in the last 6 or 7 weeks, and I had to prepare them all because they're all unique presentations, not just some canned thing. And I had to have handouts and PowerPoints. I'm so relieved it's over, and I'm just looking forward to unwinding. Today is busy though because I had my hike. Then I was doing podcasts with Helen and Fabrice because Fabrice is going to New Zealand, and so we're having to get several Feeling Good podcasts in advance so we can keep on track and on schedule when he's out of town, and that was fun but intense. And then after I'm done with this podcast, I have to go and do one more, after I'm done with this broadcast, I have to go and do one more Feeling Good podcast with Fabrice, and then I'm finally done with my fall season. I'm liking you, Dwight. I'm liking Daniel. I'm trying to remember. I'm liking Daniel twice. And Phil McCormick. Phil, you've been giving me great questions, and thank you so much for that, and great comments you've been providing. And I printed couple of your questions and comments. I don't have them in my hand right now because I'm a little disorganized. But we've got here Val Gold, Zarlet Amahit Torres, Rosalind Mary James. Mike, is this Mike Christensen? Yeah, hi Mike from Canada. This is one of our teachers in the team. And Mike has a fabulous online course, made a little video I posted on my website recently. And he says, shame attacking with David is the best, and shame attacking with Michael Christensen is the best too. I'm putting your picture up here. We're trying to figure out, oh yeah, a mutual friend, Marla Stekran. Michael, I'm wondering, is she in your group, your online group? Because Marla comes to the hikes too, and she is just fantastic. But I'm trying to figure out how to do split screen. We haven't experimented with it, and then maybe you, Michael, and I can do role plays on split screen, but we haven't quite mastered the technology for how to do that yet. Tyann Trong says that I have to have a cell phone here in order to do split screen with audio. I'm not sure, but we're working on it. But anyway, it's neat to see you, Michael, and type in a comment or how your groups are going. If any of you want a good 12-week training group in team therapy, Michael has one of the best introductory online classes. There's a small number of participants, therapists. You can do personal work. You can learn. You can practice the techniques. And Michael just has a brilliant mind and a wonderful heart and a bubbly personality. And I guess if you want to join one of his groups, you can find on my website, feelinggood.com, a PDF with all of the online, as well as the in-person groups that you can join, including my free weekly group at Stanford, all of the online groups, including Mike's and Jill Levitt's, and who to contact and how to contact Mike Christensen and others if you'd like that kind of training. Lisa Kelly, please let David know you are here and ask your questions. They fire him up and he likes answering your questions. I sure do. I love your questions, and they give me things to talk about that suddenly pop into my mind. Have Klaus Strom asks, have you treated people with very low stress thresholds, and could you help them expand their limits? Well, actually, that's what team therapy, that's probably what all of psychotherapy is about. The interesting thing about stress is after Feeling Good came out, it was hard to get publicity because I was an unknown, and just all these books competing for radio and TV. And then I had a chance to be on a TV show in New York City. And I had to take the train from Philadelphia to New York, and they were going to have all about my 10 distortions on the show on stress, how to defeat stress. And on the train, I got really stressed out because I realized I didn't know what stress was. And here I'm going to be an expert on a major television show in New York City in Manhattan on stress, and I don't even know what it was, so I got stressed. But at any rate, it was a great show, and they actually had cartoons for each of the 12 distortions, all or nothing thinking that they had prepared, and overgeneralization, and mental filter, and magnification, and minimization, and it was a fun show. But I don't think about the word stress. That's not in my vocabulary too much. I mean, it's a good slang word that people use, but I'm more precise. I treat depression, anxiety, shame, guilt, inadequacy, worthlessness, embarrassment, humiliation, hopelessness, frustration, anger, specific kinds of negative feelings. And that's what team is all about, is powerful new techniques to help people overcome these feelings quickly. Do some people experience more negative feelings than others? In other words, a lower stress threshold and more vulnerable to, say, social anxiety or depression? Absolutely, and that's probably partially genetic, and some people are more anxious, others are more angry, some are more prone to depression, and then others tend to be born more as optimists or peaceful and loving types. But the good news is we've got tremendous techniques to turn around negative feelings, and now rapidly, and what a joy it is for me. I treated 3 or 4 people on today's hike, and all of them had a complete blow away of their symptoms, or, approximately. Some were relationship problems, so it's not like making depression go away, but it's learning how to be closer to your wife or your partner or your husband or whatever. But they were tremendous outcomes, and it's just such a joy for me to have these techniques. Rose Gumapas, hi from the Philippines. Hi, Rose. I'm going to like you here, and I'm liking Dwight again. Will this broadcast be recorded that we can access later? Yes, they are now, and you can find them. Lisa Kelly and Tyann Trong are people who are helping with this, and also Ryan, a technician who works on web pages, is making these available. And I think all you have to do is go to my Facebook page, and you can find all of the old live Facebook broadcasts, and you don't have to listen to them Sunday afternoons live, although this gives you a chance to ask questions, but you can download them anytime you want. And I think Lisa said last week we're up to almost 1,000 downloads of last Sunday's podcast, and then Fabrice and me and our Feeling Good podcast. I mean, last week's broadcast, the Facebook broadcast, we're getting about 900 to 1,000 downloads a week. And then on our on our Feeling Good podcast that you can find on my website or on iTunes or I think they're on YouTube now too. Fabrice and I are we're up to about 40,000 downloads a month on those. So please spread the word to your friends and tell them about these free podcasts, all the free resources on my website, feelinggood.com. Tell them about my books. That keeps me where I can keep doing all this free stuff and volunteer work as long as I can keep my books selling, keep a little income coming in. And so, all the support that you can give me and is greatly appreciated, and mainly by spreading the word and through social media, through word of mouth anyway. If you know someone who's struggling with depression, anxiety, relationship problems who might be interested, turn them on to feelinggood.com and to these broadcasts. Charlene Dobbs, reading when panic attacks. She's reading when panic attacks and started listening to the Feeling Good podcast on iTunes. Going to try and tackle this anxiety alone because my doctors just try and put me on Xanax. Well, thank you for that. So many of us experience anxiety. When I wrote my book, When Panic Attacks, I realized I've had 17 anxiety disorders myself. And so that's why I've had all kinds of social anxiety and phobias, and I've had a panic attack and camera phobia. See, now I've killed it. I can smile in front of a camera. I couldn't do that from childhood up to about a year ago or 6 months ago. I finally overcame that phobia. But I love treating anxiety because whatever you say, I can say I've had that too, and I can show you how to defeat that. But the problem with Xanax is that it's a great anti-anxiety agent in the short term. The short term maybe meaning for a few hours, but when it goes out of your system, then your brain goes into rebound, and then you have to take another one. And if you keep that up, there's a tendency to become addicted to it. And what addicted means, as you probably know, is when you try to go off it, you'll go into a withdrawal, which is intense anxiety and insomnia. And then you'll think, well, I have to keep taking the Xanax, and that's how people get hooked. And so I have found it more effective to treat people with anxiety without medications, and the new techniques are so powerful. I can usually get the job done. I treated a fellow with incredible anxiety today, and hopelessness and severe depression, and he really just blew it away using the team therapy techniques on the hike. But you shouldn't change doses without consulting your physician who prescribed the Xanax, because if you were to suddenly go off it, you could go into drug withdrawal, depending on the dose and the length of time you've been on it. But I hope you find some relief from my book, When Panic Attacks, and some help from these podcasts. Let's see, Colleen. She said, I sent you a private message on Facebook one day, but no response. I know you're very busy. Well, I'm very busy, but the thing is, I don't know how to use Facebook, so I wouldn't know how to respond. When people email me, you've got a better shot at it, David@feelinggood.com, because I do get my emails, but I'm very naive on social media and don't know how to get private messages and I'm trying to catch up with my emails because I'm about 500 behind right now because I've been out of town so much. Oh, here's Fabrice. Let's see what Fabrice is saying. Did you want to say hello to these people? Yes, I promised you last week that Fabrice would say hello. Pull a chair up, and you. Yeah, and you can put these on here. And you can take over. We only have one set of headphones.
Can you actually hear people?
Yeah, you can't hear them.
Okay,
but they can hear us.
Well, hi everyone. Just wanted to say hi. I'm Fabrice, and I am the host of the podcast. I'm sure some of you have heard it. So good to not see you guys. I see some names in there on the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't take them off.
Okay.
We're pick your brain here. Now, if there's people watching who'd like to tap into our Feeling Good podcasts, how would they do that?
Okay, so the Feeling Good podcast can be subscribed on iTunes. So if you have the podcast app on your Mac or on your iPhone or your iPad, you can subscribe to that podcast. Go through iTunes, look for the Feeling Good podcast, and there's 2 of them. So make sure you select the correct one. The Feeling Good podcast that David and I are doing has a yellow icon, and other ways is we're. I think you can find us on SoundCloud or Spotify.
And YouTube?
Oh, well, you can find YouTube. So YouTube is not, it's not the podcast itself. It's a copy of the podcast. So it gets pushed to the YouTube channel that David has. And
do I have a YouTube channel?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
So he does. So there's no video, but it's just the sound part. And also it gets published to the Facebook page. So, but I prefer to use the iPhone app because it just downloads each episode automatically, and you don't have to use that app. There's plenty of podcast listening apps too.
Now, I understand that you and David have a series going on the 5 Secrets of Effective Communication right now. Why should would these people be interested in that potentially, and if so, why?
If you're...
I'm the interviewer now.
Yeah, you're the interviewer. I wonder if people can hear you now that I have your headset on.
Well, because the microphone's right here.
Okay, all right. So you always speak louder than me anyhow. So
yeah.
So we're doing a series on the 5 secrets. We've published 2 episodes so far, and there's
4 we've done.
We've published 2.
Published 2, yes. We've recorded 4, published 2.
Yeah. And so there's 4 more coming. And so the 5 secrets are useful both for therapists who want to really create an empathic relationship with their clients and who want to have a successful therapy. It's also useful for people who want to get closer to their loved ones and partners.
Is that why we're so close now?
Yes.
Because we use the 5 secrets. Stupid. Wimpy.
All right. Anyhow, so that's why people would want to listen to this.
To develop better, more loving relationships.
Yeah.
With people,
yeah.
Not only family, but neighbors, strangers, colleagues, and for therapists, if you'd like to have really tremendous relationships with your patients, these tools can be very helpful. They're not easy to learn. That's why we devoted a whole series of podcasts, one podcast to each of the five secrets.
Yeah. So I think people are getting impatient. They want their questions answered. So
okay.
I don't pass this back to you.
Okay, thanks. That was fun. All right. I'm back in the driver's seat now. My new doctor of clinical psychology asked me to contemplate the shame we feel out of going to therapy. It was powerful for myself. One of his focuses is on corporate stress and highly effective, intelligent individuals, and that was from Tamara. And Lisa Kelly says, do you have friends who should see this video? Share it with them so they can watch it too. Let's see. We've got a big bunch of people here. Katie, let's see what Katie is up to. Katie Jacob Schwartz, so grateful for you and your books. You gave me hope and encouragement. I'm glad to hear that. Hope is so important, and we all need encouragement when we're feeling down. Talk therapy proved ineffective. Yes, I'm so disheartened at the low skill level, in my opinion, for what it's worth, of an awful lot of the talk therapy that's out there. I was actually dismayed that your works weren't suggested by prior anxiety therapists, even though they used excerpts from your work. Grateful to have found you. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that kind comment, and I hope that you get more than hope and encouragement from the books, but an actual improvement and change in your outlook and the way you feel here. Let's see, we've got Diana Hale. Hi, Laura Casasamper Baranda. Thank you. Dana Hale said, thanks for no meds. Yes, right. Yeah, I think most of our human suffering can be handled with helpful tools and a human connection. When you think about it, it seems to me kind of absurd that we think we can take a pill to solve human problems. Some things a pill is life-saving, but I think for most of the anxiety, the depression, the bad moods, the jams we get into human beings, pills aren't going to be solving it for us. Michael Christian says looking good, Fabrice. I'll tell him. Loving the podcast. Highly recommend it. I prescribe them for my students and patients. Thanks for that, Mike. Comment deleted. The comment you're trying to react to was deleted. Try refreshing the page. Well, I don't know. I'm okay here. Janet Nagel. You helped me so much many years back. My therapist had me use Feeling Good as my workbook. I fought off depression many times through the years by using your definitions of cognitive distortions to get myself thinking clearly again. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for that, Janet. And Richard Agan joined. It's always nice to see you, Richard. Let's see. We've got Victor Hugo. Let's see. So I'm trying to see if there's some more questions. I have another question here, but let me just see if there's other I've missed higher up. Let's see. I'm just looking. I don't think I have any other live questions. But okay, yeah. Katie says you've definitely changed the way I think and feel. Hope caused change. Thank you again. And Charlene Dobbs says, do you know of anyone cured of anxiety from when panic attacks alone? I don't have research on that yet. I know that the research on my book, Feeling Good, indicates that roughly 60 to 65% of people with serious depression and anxiety recover within 4 weeks of reading Feeling Good. It's not a cure for everybody, but I would say it's probably reasonable to say millions of people have had a dramatic improvement or a recovery from depression from the book Feeling Good. There hasn't been the same research on when panic attacks, books for anxious individuals, but there has been work in the past that indicates that reading a good book on anxiety and using the techniques does lead to significant improvement, and I assume that's happening a lot with my book When Panic Attacks. And if some of you want to write in about that, I'd love to talk about that on future podcasts. But there's 4 models in the treatment of anxiety, and you can learn to use the cognitive model, you can learn to use the motivational model, you can learn to use the exposure model also to confront the things that you're afraid of. It might be a little hard to use the hidden emotion model because the emotions that are triggering the panic, the repressed emotions, are by definition hidden. But I think there's a lot you can do on your own, absolutely. Here's someone, I won't say the name because it might be too personal, but she's saying, what can you do about a husband who drinks and eats too much? Well, here I guess you're saying, how can I change this other person? And I kind of work on helping people to change yourself. And there would be 2 kinds of things I would offer to you, the person with the initials SS. One would be to help you change the way you think and feel on the one hand, and the other would be to help you change the way you relate to your husband. And I would work both of those from the specific point of view. Is there a time that you were feeling upset about your husband drinking too much and eating too much? And then I would ask you to fill out a daily mood log, like you can find in the book When Panic Attacks, or similar things in my book Feeling Good Handbook, or Feeling Good, or 10 Days to Self-Esteem, or any of them, and see what your feelings are and what your negative thoughts are. And you may have some distorted negative thoughts there that could be changed to help you change the way you feel, if you want to change the way you feel. And also, then I would also say, would there be a specific moment when you're interacting with your husband that wasn't going well? Then what did he say? What did you say next? And then we could be using the 5 secrets of effective communication to help you interact with him more effectively, and also look at your own role in the problem and see, are there ways that you're communicating with him that aren't being helpful. And I'm sure a tremendous amount could be done, but the focus would be on changing yourself rather than changing your husband. Michael Christian says, I require all my anxiety patients to read When Panic Attacks after the intake session, and some recover without having to see me. Very rewarding to work in this way. Well, there's your answer, your proof that the book can be helpful to people with panic and anxiety. Phil says, hi, Dr. David. I read something in Time magazine or one of these other mags recently, and they were touting the relief from depression by using a drug, which I think was ecstasy or something like that. Does that ring a bell? There are some new approaches to the treatment of depression with medications, and I applaud them, because the antidepressants, that stuff just never really panned out. The drugs called antidepressants, my reading of the literature is that they have few or no true antidepressant effects above and beyond their placebo effects. Some of the newer drugs, there's one, I can't think of what it is. It's a pretty powerful drug. It's kind of like an anesthetic or something, and it does cause brief, significant mood elevations. The problem is that it doesn't last. Ecstasy is a party drug. I've never had it. It probably would make you feel temporarily euphoric, loving toward people. I've understood. I can see that it might very well have a mood elevating effect. And could be useful in the treatment with some people. We have to wait and see what the research shows, but ultimately I think you need the skills, not the pills, to change your life if you're struggling with anxiety. I doubt that a pill will ever be, the permanent cure for the vast majority of depression and anxiety. Klaus says, does cognitive therapy lead to overthinking? In your opinion, everything can be misused. The kind of therapy I do does not involve overthinking. It involves laughter and tears and joy and a transformation of the human spirit. But all of the tools that I teach in team therapy are powerful, and they all can be used skillfully and effectively, or abused. But overthinking, I would say, doesn't have a very good reputation. It's important to see when your thoughts are distorted and to crush them, to put the lie to them. But that isn't the same as overthinking. When I think of overthinking, I think of people with obsessive compulsive disorder, and they have constant negative thoughts, and then they're washing their hands and doing rituals to try to undo their negative emotions, and they're constantly thinking. Yes, here we go, Diana Hale. It's ketamine is the one in Time magazine, and that does cause significant temporary mood elevations. We'll have to see how effective it is really as a treatment for depression, and it may in fact play a role. I've always been looking forward to drugs that are true antidepressants and how they might further our cause. So I say the jury's out, but I'm very open. I've never been opposed to drugs. I've just been opposed to drugs that don't work, and drugs that have side effects and toxic effects that outweigh any potential benefit. But hey, if ketamine is going to be a solution or partial solution, I'm all for doing some research and learning more about its effects as well as its limits. Lisa Kelly reminds us that Feeling Good Together, my book, addresses the 5 secrets of effective communication and the relationship journal. And it's important to work on changing yourself rather than your partner. And Dwight again mentions Dwight Swaback, ketamine. Tamara mentions the importance of changing your thinking if you want to change your life. The book Feeling Good, the New Mood Therapy, is all about that. Colleen says, can you please come to Prince Edward Island in Canada? We need you here. Well, thank you for those kind comments. I often do go to Canada to teach and often accept invitations to teach. I don't organize my own workshops, but am always, happy when invited to go somewhere to speak. I spoke recently in Calgary and Medicine Hat. I've never been to Prince Edward Island. I think that's up. I don't even know where it is. I have a feeling it might be up in a long way up in the direction of Newfoundland, maybe, but I'm just guessing. Oh, and Barb Full is here. It's always good to see you on a Sunday. Well, it's a little early for me to sign off today, but I might, because I'm pretty weary from my road trip. As I say, I spoke on 5 occasions to well more than 3,000 people in the last few days down in Anaheim. And I still have to do some recording with Fabrice before we finish up tonight. Next week on Sunday is Christmas Eve, and our family's going to be here, so we won't be having a podcast next Sunday. And I think the following Sunday, let me just look at my calendar here, is the 31st, Sunday the 31st. That's New Year's Eve at 3 p.m. on Sunday. I think I'm going to cancel the next 2 for the holidays, take a little break for myself, and I'll announce the details here, but we will continue with our podcasts on Sunday, January 7th. And so I want to thank you all for your supporting my efforts. I want to thank Lisa Kelly for her fabulous commitment to try to get the David Burns message out, and to all of you, and to Tyann Trong too from Colorado. She's been helping us a lot. To thank Michael Christensen. Just a brilliant, compassionate, wonderful person, a great teacher, a great therapist. If you're in Canada, you're looking for treatment, or, Mike is your guy. If you're anywhere in the world looking for training, online training, Mike is your guy as well. And you can get his contact information, I believe, by going to the Feeling Good Institute, and probably if you look him up online, I suspect he may have his a website too, where you can get direct access. So it's great to be home. I'm just so grateful to be home with my wife and my cats, and some time to unwind. And also, now high on my priority list is going to be to work on my new book, Feeling Great. I just haven't had time to work on it because I've had so many trips out of town, so many presentations to prepare. And I'm thinking in this next year, I might actually back off from doing most workshops, except for really big events, and spend more time developing new things, working on the book, and finding new ways to connect with all of you. Maybe even doing more online group. I've even had the fantasy, would I want to go back into some clinical practice again? I absolutely love treating people. It's almost, I would say, practically the most fun thing I do in the world. And so I think there will be some real changes. I continue to have despair that's intensifying about our political situation. I don't want to get overly political and turn people off, but I feel like our country is in danger right now. Interestingly, when I was in Anaheim, during one of the lunches, I met a fellow from Germany, and he's some well-known mental health professional and has advertised conferences, but he said, maybe you in America won't be so critical of us anymore for our own history in Germany, now that you see what's happening to you. And what he was saying is that those same tendencies that swept through Germany in the 1930s that led to Hitler and the Third Reich and the persecution of people who were different, and one authoritarian person to take over all of the branches of government and to fight and eventually to kill all those who opposed him, that he feels, and I feel the same, that the same dangers are lurking now here in America. And I think it's a time for some real alarm. I think still that 2/3 of our country is still not supporting these dangerous trends. But I see paranoia in government. I see the Republicans now starting to say they're going to try to stop the FBI investigation of the meddling from Russia. And I think that's very, very dangerous and a bad development. And so I'm just saying here's I'm speaking my heart right now, and I hope and believe our democracy will triumph, but I believe that we're in some dangerous waters right now. Well, anyway, thank you all for your support in the past year. And I wish all of you a wonderful holiday, whether that's a Jewish holiday, the Hanukkah, the Christian Christmas, the Islamic, the Buddhist, whatever your holidays are, whatever your New Year is. I just wish you all a lot of warmth, and I hope we have some wonderful, exciting things here on our podcast and on the broadcast, and also on the Feeling podcast, and other new things that will evolve, I believe, in the upcoming year. So goodbye for this year to all of you, and I'll see you soon again in the new year. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.